You think you've seen elite before? You think you know what greatness looks like at the quarterback position? Let me tell you something. What I'm about to share with you flipped everything I thought I knew on its head. Last week, something happened behind closed doors in Miami that has the entire NFL buzzing. Scouts, general managers, even owners are still trying to process what they witnessed. And yeah, I'm talking about Shedeur Sanders. The performance he put on was so unbelievable, so surgical, so shockingly perfect that veteran talent evaluators, guys, who've been doing this for 30, 40 years, were left questioning everything they thought they understood about quarterbacks. Now, the whispers started quietly. I started hearing things Tuesday. By the end of the week, that quiet buzz turned into full-on NFL gossip. And I get it now. I see why Deion Sanders has been pounding the table for his son. What I've learned, what went down in that private Miami facility, has changed the way I look at this upcoming 2025 NFL draft. Completely. But before I get into what actually happened on that field, let me ask you something. How many times have we seen a hyped-up quarterback prospect fall apart when it mattered most? How many so-called stars in college have crumbled the minute NFL pressure hits? Ryan Leaf, Jamarcus Russell, the list goes on. The graveyard of can't-miss QBs is long and deep, and that's exactly what makes what Shedeur did so jaw-dropping. Because this wasn't a hype video. This wasn't some flashy social media edit made to boost draft stock. This wasn't even a padded college practice with no real stakes. This was real. This was raw. This was NFL-level evaluation, under the kind of pressure that breaks most college quarterbacks in half. So please take 2 seconds to hit the subscribe button, like the video, and leave your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for your support. So, here's what we know. A few weeks ago, word got around the league. Shedeur had scheduled a private workout in Miami. But not just any workout. This was at a facility that's seen the likes of Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, legends. This is where serious pros go when they want to lock in and get better without distractions. And Shedeur? He didn't invite friends. He didn't just bring in a couple of coaches for a feel-good session. He invited the Wolves, former NFL defensive coordinators, veteran scouts who've dissected everyone from Peyton Manning to Patrick Mahomes. These are the people who don't give a damn about college, awards, or famous last names. They only care about one thing. Can you ball? And guess what? They showed up. All of them. So picture this. It's 6 a.m. in Miami. Sun's just creeping over the horizon. Shadows stretching across this top-tier training field. Inside, it's dead. Silent. Just the low hum of anticipation. 15 NFL scouts, coaches, and execs standing around with clipboards and stopwatches. These are professionals, stone-faced, unimpressed. They've seen it all. Then Shedeur walks onto the field. No entourage, no music, no Instagram Live, just a young man carrying the weight of expectations, not just from the NFL, but from being the son of one of the greatest athletes of all time. First drill, 40-yard throws to stationary targets. Sounds simple, right? But here's the twist. These weren't random receivers. These were former NFL players, guys who understand separation, guys who've been coached at the highest level. And Shedeur? He steps up and fires an absolute missile. I mean, it was a perfect spiral, tight as a rope, and it hit the receiver dead in stride. A few scouts exchanged glances, but no one flinched just yet. They've seen strong arms before. Then came throw number 2. This time, the receiver runs a comeback route. Much tougher. Timing, anticipation, ball placement, it all had to be perfect. And Shedeur throws the ball before the receiver even makes his break. By the time that receiver turns, the ball is right there, smacking him in the chest. One scout literally dropped his clipboard, and that was just the warm-up. Then came the simulated game situations, and this is where things got real. They brought in a mock defense, former NFL starters, not washed-up dudes. These were legit defenders who know how to disguise coverages and make quarterbacks suffer. 2-minute drill. Down 6, 85 yards to go, no timeouts. Shedeur walks up to the line. Defense shows one look, then rotates. Classic NFL misdirection. Ball is snapped. The pressure comes. And instead of folding like most college quarterbacks, Shedeur slides up in the pocket, keeps his eyes downfield, and in a split second, identifies a dig route opening behind a linebacker who's a step too slow. The window? Tiny. But he threads the needle like a seasoned vet. I mean, that ball hits the receiver in stride. It was a throw that only NFL starters attempt. The scouts? Now they're leaning forward, because now it's real. Then came the pocket, pressure drills. And let me tell you, it was brutal. They brought in ex-Pro Bowl pass rushers. These guys weren't taking it easy. 7-step drops. Deep developing routes. And the rush came hard. Off the edge, up the gut. Delayed blitzes. The pocket was collapsing like a house of cards. And Shedeur? He slid left, eyes still downfield, and threw a dart. 30 yards, between two defenders. While getting hit, and the defender who was about to take his head off, he stopped. He just froze and watched the pass complete. Silence. Then slow claps. Then full-on applause. NFL scouts clapping in the middle of a workout? That doesn't happen. And the wildest part? That was all before the full-team simulations. Yeah, they ran actual NFL plays. No simplified college concepts. Full reads, audibles, protections, the stuff that takes rookies years to grasp. And Shedeur? He didn't just run the plays. He owned the offense. He called out protections, made adjustments at the line, read safeties rotating, and hit hot routes before the defense even knew what was coming. One play stood out. He spotted a single coverage matchup before the snap, audibled, gave his slot receiver a signal, and dropped a dime for a touchdown. The defensive coordinator who set up the scheme? He just stood there with his mouth wide open, completely outcoached by a college kid. But what really floored me, and everyone in that room, was what happened after each play. Shedeur walked over to the defenders and started asking questions. What coverage were they in? What did they see? What would they do differently? That's film room level processing. That's the kind of curiosity and football IQ that even 10-year vets don't always show. One former NFL linebacker said later, "I've worked out with quarterbacks who've been in the league a decade, and they don't ask those kinds of questions." The workout went on for hours. No let-up, no fluff, just non-stop high-level quarterback play. And by the end, the room had changed. Those skeptical scouts started whispering to each other, scribbling notes, eyes wide, phones out. One anonymous GM was overheard saying, "That's the most complete quarterback performance I've seen from a college kid in 20 years. This guy's ready to start day one." And that's not just hype. That's real. Within 48 hours, 3 different teams contacted Shedeur's reps about setting up private workouts. Teams that weren't even in the QB conversation were suddenly scrambling. Draft boards started shifting. Teams like the Giants, who've been QB-starved for years, reportedly sent their head coach and OC to study the tape. The Raiders? Their owner supposedly called Shedeur's agent personally. And then there's Dayon. When asked about all of this, he just smiled and said, "I told y'all he was ready. Now it makes sense, doesn't it?" See, this wasn't just a great workout. This felt like the birth of something bigger. A quarterback who's been groomed for this moment, who's had access to the best coaching, the best knowledge, and turned that privilege into results. So now, it's not about if Shedeur Sanders is NFL ready. It's about how high he goes in the draft. Who's going to be smart enough to build their franchise around him? Because in this league, the right quarterback changes everything. And if this Miami performance is even half as real as insiders are saying, then we're not just looking at a top pick. We might be witnessing the start of a new era. What do you think? Is Shedeur Sanders the real deal, or just another workout warrior? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I want to hear everything. Because this story, it's just getting started. What if I told you that the biggest threat to Shedeur Sanders' NFL career isn't some injury or stacked quarterback room? It's a lie? A straight-up manufactured lie whispered into the ears of desperate Colts fans, ignited by low-level insiders chasing clout, and now parroted like gospel by NFL talking heads who've never liked the idea of a young black quarterback carrying himself like a CEO. I've seen the rumors. You probably have too. They're out there swirling like smoke. This idea that Shedeur's on his way out of Cleveland, about to get traded to the Indianapolis Colts to compete with a broken Anthony Richardson and a washed-up Daniel Jones. They want you to believe he's fourth-string material, a throwaway, a bust, like this generational talent who diced up college defenses with calm control and clinical accuracy suddenly isn't even worth developing. But here's what nobody's saying. These rumors didn't come from the Browns' locker room. They didn't come from Andrew Berry. They didn't even come from the league office. They were born in the trash pile of the internet, on fake sports blogs and sketchy betting sites. dressed up with buzzwords, passed along to lazy insiders, and spoon-fed to fans who don't know better. This isn't a hot take. It's sabotage. So, please take 2 seconds to hit the subscribe button, like the video, and leave your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for your support. Shedeur Sanders is under attack, not by opposing defenses, but by narrative, and every time he rises, they find a new way to pull him back down. First it was his confidence, then it was his father. Now it's a fake trade. So today, this isn't just about football. I'm breaking down the anatomy of a lie. I'm calling out the people who benefit from keeping Shedeur buried, and I'm telling you exactly why this man might be the most dangerous quarterback in the NFL. Not because he's reckless, but because he's ready. And let's get one thing straight. This rumor didn't come from Adam Schefter. It didn't come from Ian Rappaport. Hell, it didn't even come from someone in Berea. It started with a guy named Jonathan Adams writing for Bettis, a sportsbook blog, not ESPN. He floated a what-if scenario. What if the Browns cut Shedeur? What if he landed in Indy? That's all it took. One speculative sentence. One maybe. The NFL echo chamber did the rest. Then the blogs jumped in. I'm talking about motorcyclenews.net. Yeah, you heard me right. A motorcycle gossip site turned football blog. They published some AI-written fever dream of an article. No sources, no quotes, just fluff. But that was enough to catch fire. And here's the part that ticks me off. The media knows what they're doing. They didn't check if it was true. They saw Shedeur's name next to Colts and knew they could cash in on clicks. It's not journalism. It's bait. And who better to target than a young, confident black quarterback who's already got a target on his back? This was never about Shedeur's play. It was about control, narrative control, creating doubt. So if we don't challenge this now, the lie becomes legacy. But while they were spreading that lie, Shedeur was doing something they didn't expect. He was working, quietly, relentlessly. While anonymous insiders played telephone with fake trade rumors, Shedeur Sanders was down in Texas. Not for social media, not for show. He was putting in real reps under the brutal sun, grinding with his receivers like the season starts tomorrow. And one of those receivers? Gage Larvadane, a young guy who built real chemistry with Shedeur during rookie minicamp. And OTAs. This wasn't some influencer retreat. This was football, precision, timing, trust. The kind of trust you need on 3rd and 9 with the game on the line. And they weren't doing it for the cameras. They were doing it because Shedeur understands something most rookies don't. How you work when nobody's watching is how you win when everyone is. That's not just training. That's leadership. Do you think Joe Flacco's out in the backyard running routes with fringe receivers? You think Daniel Jones is flying down to Texas to build chemistry with the 3rd string? Come on. Shedeur is outworking the competition before they even unpack their shoulder pads. But you won't see that on SportsCenter because a young black QB grinding in the offseason doesn't fit their narrative. If you show up too early, you're arrogant. If you stay too late, you're a distraction. But here's the truth. Shedeur's been preparing for the league his entire life. And while the media spins fiction, Shedeur is out there cashing checks that only real work can write. Now let's talk about why this trade rumor even exists in the first place. Because it's not about talent, it's about politics. Cleveland's quarterback room isn't a meritocracy, it's a chessboard. And right now, Shedeur Sanders is being treated like a pawn, not because he's not good enough, but because he threatens the whole board. Look at the betting odds from Polymart. Flacco's got a 50% chance to start. Kenny Pickett's sitting at 22%. Dylan Gabriel, who's never taken an NFL snap, is at 16%. And Shedeur, 14%. Dead last. That's how little the so-called experts think of the best pure passer in the room. But let's call it what it is. This isn't about what Shedeur can't do. It's about what he might do if they actually gave him the keys. Because this league still doesn't know what to do with a 5th-round black quarterback who acts like a CEO, trains like a vet, and plays like a star. So they keep him low on the chart, hoping he fades. But here's the problem. Indianapolis is starving for a real quarterback. And that's where this rumor finds oxygen. The Colts don't have a quarterback competition. They've got a crisis. Let's start with Anthony Richardson. On paper, the guy's a freak. Built like a linebacker, runs like a sprinter. But the moment the lights go out, injuries, inconsistency, availability issues. Colts fans won't say it out loud, but deep down they're starting to wonder if Richardson is a dream they need to wake up from. Then there's Daniel Jones, fresh off a failed stint in New York. Can we stop pretending this guy's due for a comeback? He's not a franchise savior, he's a stopgap, a band-aid. And somehow, right now, he's QB1 in Indy. So in that chaos, Shedeur's name pops up. Not because he deserves it, but because his name brings clicks, and his game brings calm. He's not out here hurdling linebackers or scrambling for 70 yards. He's standing in the pocket delivering 15-yard out routes with a rusher in his face. And for some reason, that makes people uncomfortable. Because Shedeur doesn't just play quarterback. He is a quarterback. Precise, polished, poised. He's the guy who commands a room without saying a word. The kind of leader who doesn't need the flash. And that's what really bothers people. Anthony Richardson got called a generational talent before he even proved anything. Meanwhile, Shedeur Sanders torched college football and still got treated like a reach. One's been coddled, the other's been challenged, and guess what? Shedeur keeps showing up, keeps grinding, keeps proving the system wrong. So ask yourself, why? Is the league still betting on broken bodies and highlight tape while ignoring the guy who's ready right now? Because Shedeur Sanders isn't just threatening defenses. He's threatening the system. And that brings us to Cris Carter. When Cris Carter got on TV and said Shedeur and his family overplayed their hand, he wasn't just sharing an opinion. That was betrayal. A black man, a former player, speaking the language of gatekeepers. He said Shedeur wasn't special enough to demand where he got drafted. Really? From a guy who watched the NFL blackball Kaepernick, hide concussions, suppress guaranteed money, and now he wants to act like the league is too honest to collude? Please. The league already admitted to collusion in court, so Carter wasn't just wrong, he was lying to protect the system. And let's be honest, when he said him and his family, we all know he meant Dayan, a man who's been targeted from day one for daring to build his own brand, speak truth, and empower his kids. Carter didn't just question Shedeur's value, he questioned a legacy. He attacked black independence. And why? For clicks, for outrage, because criticizing the Sanders family is an easy path to attention. Cris Carter says Shedeur isn't Eli Manning. He's right. Eli was protected, handpicked, privileged. Shedeur is none of those things, and maybe that's why he's more dangerous. So what if the trade actually happens? Here's the twist. Shedeur still wins. If he goes to Indy, he's in striking distance of the starting job, and if he stays in Cleveland, keeps grinding, keeps climbing. Keeps showing the world that work ethic, precision, and leadership still matter more than flash. The NFL may not want Shedeur Sanders to win, but that doesn't matter, because he's already coming, and you can't stop what's already in motion. Let them talk. Shedeur will let his game do the answering. Appreciate you watching. Make sure you like the video, subscribe, and I'll see you tomorrow with more football updates.